Hyper-focused on Fleetwood Mac, my roommate's dead, fungus fermentation, another Wonka reboot, JFK's assassination.
It's not my favorite topic, just my brain's current fixation.
Hyper-focus.
Hyperfocus, a neurodivergent podcast. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Hyperfocus, a neurodivergent podcast. I am here with comedian, improviser, and podcaster, Julia Schroeder.
Hi.
In a little bit, we're going to get into our topics, which yours is Limerence, and then mine is Blue Apron.
I can't wait.
The meal kit delivery service. But before we get into that, I like to start the podcast off with letting you talk a little bit about your experience being neurodivergent.
Amazing. Okay.
Yes.
Well, the first thing I'll say is this podcast that I do with Florence Friba is called Two Curly-Haired Girls with ADHD, and I do have to say I am undiagnosed, but from everybody, including my therapist, I am. But this is how things manifest for me. Okay, I can never finish a story. Horrible at telling stories. Can never finish a thought, pray for somebody to just cut me off before. I'm very nervous about talking about something that I have to be an expert on today. I'll say that. I know, but I'm like, wait, where do I start? How do I do this?
Yeah.
What do I do?
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, for sure. And this is a story I like to tell when thinking about being neurodivergent. Last year at San Francisco Sketch Fest, my sketch team, Time to Kill, was interviewed like man on the street style by some comedian there. And so we were all like doing like hot takes, and I did mine, and this interviewer goes, "Are you on the spectrum?" I'm like, "Oh, excuse me." I was like blown. I was like, "Can you ask that? And also, can you say more? Because baby, which one? Yeah, I'm sure I am." But anyway.
That is a crazy thing to say to someone you don't know, even though people are getting more comfortable just kind of saying that.
And that's what I was wondering, but also this really felt like a read in a way that I was like, you're not really nice. So this didn't feel like hey, I'm trying to relate, because I am. It was very much like, you go seek help kind of thing.
Well, why? What was your hot take that made them say that?
I think it was less the take and more my communication style. Because sometimes I'll just kind of like get into like I don't know. And I've asked my teammates, they go, "Girl, I don't know. You're just weird sometimes," but that was crazy. Also, one time I remember this in freshman year of high school, I got a book report thing back from my English teacher. And at the top in like red writing was like, pages stapled out of order, but that's typical for you, never paying attention to small details. And I was like a very good student. I was like, whoa, okay. Anyway, it's like everything's fine down to the like details, and then I go, I couldn't care less.
Well, if it makes you feel better, for years my therapist told me I had ADHD, and I just didn't get diagnosed for a very long time, like years.
Totally. Okay.
She would bring it up, and then I'd be like, okay, or I'd be like, maybe I'll do this one day, and then I'd look into how to do it and get overwhelmed and stop. And
that is exactly what happened.
We would like revisit the conversation like 6 to 8 months later, and then finally she was just like, here is a psychiatrist that I know, talk to him, and he will just help you.
Can I tell you?
But then
she gave me one, and it was so expensive, and I was like, okay, well then I found somebody, and we had a date to like set up an assessment, and then I got a gig or something, and so then I had to reschedule it, and then couldn't find like the email. It was like very confusing through the system or whatever, and I couldn't get a hold of anybody, and then I just let it go.
Yeah. No, well, the guy she ended up giving me was also really expensive, and then he also ended up being really shitty.
No.
And so it takes a really long time.
It's like designed to keep us where we are.
Yeah, I'm like, sure. Thanks for your opinion. I'm going to keep not changing.
Exactly. My psychiatrist's best friend goes, I hope this is okay to say. She was like, don't go to anybody with less than a doctorate. And I was like,
oh, well. No. You can. My brother's general...
That's cost prohibitive for me right now.
My brother's, like, GP would give him Adderall. Like, his regular doctor would do that. Truly, do whatever you can. Don't listen to this friend.
I love her. I love her. I love her, and I respect her opinion.
And I don't respect her opinion. Do what you can. Do what you can. It's rough out there.
Thank you. It's really, really tough. Yeah.
Well, because does your friend have ADHD?
No.
Okay, so no, it's irrelevant. Irrelevant. It doesn't. It's different. It's so different. Okay, are you ready to get into the
let's
topic
do this.
of limerence?
Yes.
I love this topic.
Me too. I'm so glad that you do, and it seems very hot right now. And this friend, she's brilliant, by the way, but she was like, I need you to also know that this term I didn't know this term in med school, so it's like relatively new. It was coined by a psychologist from like the 70s, so it's been around a long time, but it's come into the ether more recently.
Do you think it's come more into the ether as like general therapy talk has all come into the ether? Like, I feel like we talk about like narcissists more and like all of these other, I don't want to say buzzwords because I think they are like legitimate things to discuss.
For sure.
Like, yeah, I feel like in the past few years, naming things have been bigger.
I do think that's like a huge part of it. And I do think that social media has just shaped the way. I was also curious if like, oh, am I just seeing it now because I was served this shit because I kept being like, what's going on with my brain right now? And then Instagram, my FYP would tell me.
Oh, and then the algorithm just...
Yeah, and I was like, is it just me?
You're locked in. Yeah,
exactly. I went down a rabbit hole of continuing to watch videos and learning about limerence, which is inherently sort of a hyperfixation in itself. So it's a psychological concept wherein it's the experience of being like intensely obsessed with somebody.
Like infatuated with them. Yeah.
Totally. And I found it helpful, like almost to talk about it in relation to, or in how it's different to like being in love or just feeling a crush, because it's very similar. A lot of the feelings are sort of similar to that, but there are like pillars of limerence that make it very specific to itself versus like being in love or having a crush.
Yeah, what are the differences? Because sometimes I don't trust myself to be like, what if it's just a lot of love? Or is it like...
Well, that's part of it. It can feel so damn real. Well, so here are some of the things, and it doesn't need to be all of these.
Right.
And some of these it might not be, but here are some of the distinguishing factors. It's an involuntary obsession. You can't will yourself to be limerent, have a limerent object. It is usually not requited. Feelings are not reciprocated. Or you are unsure if the like uncertainty is a huge pillar, like not knowing how the other person feels or telling yourself you don't know how they feel is a huge pillar. You might get this inconsistent, intermittent positive reinforcement from this person. I think some people sort of like make up stuff too. So like, even if they're not giving you I think there are different levels where like I've had friends who have had stalkers where I'm like, this is a person who you have not had contact with, and that is there's stuff there. But I think it can also be like, oh, you might be in contact with this person and get little bits of
dopamine hits.
Yes, exactly that. But it's usually inconsistent. It's as opposed to love, where love builds very steadily and securely. This is very much like random, and you chase that like an addiction. They're categorized by very huge emotional highs and lows. Your mood will very much depend on how your perception of their reaction or their feelings of you. So if you get a response and it seems good, that's going to be like euphoric. And then if you're sensing either delayed response or like less than what you want out of that response, it can feel like depression.
Yeah.
There's an element of like fantasy. So like usually it's like kind of overtaking your daily life of like fantasizing your life with this person or fantasizing responses from them or experiences with them or different things like that. And there are probably certain traits of this person that make them appealing in some sort of way. You've categorized them as like unattainable in some way, or maybe there are aspirational qualities about them that feel like to you.
Yes.
And then also, I think kind of in like parallel to that is like pedestaling that person, making them out to be much more than they really are.
Yes.
And an inability to see like sort of their flaws. Or if you do see their flaws, it's sort of like you're not seeing the incompatibility. It's that that's completely ignored.
You find a way to excuse it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Limerence is something that like anyone can experience, but there is like a tie to like people with ADHD who
For sure.
can experience it. But I'm not saying it's like exclusive to
Absolutely
people with
not.
ADHD.
And I should have said this up top, because this is like a psychological phenomenon. Do not take anything I say as truth. Go find help. Go find someone with a doctorate, according to my friend.
Just do what I do and go on Reddit.
Yeah, or that.
Just don't ask AI. I just ask people, strangers on Reddit, and see what they said. That's what I did to prep for this. I just went on a Reddit thread and saw what other people were saying about limerence.
100%.
I feel like for me, the limerence thing has been something I've always done, like as a kid.
Yes.
And I was thinking about that because I used to have like really intense crushes that I would like, I'd monitor it, like I'd be like, oh, my locker's near them at this time and da-da-da, and all these little interactions, which I kind of assumed everyone was doing also with their crushes, but maybe not. And then I always felt like if I didn't have a crush at the time, I needed to get a new one and figure out who the new crush was.
Yeah.
Like, I also kind of feel like the media growing up at the time normalize that.
Oh,
like,
I think our culture, like very much, like growing up in the era of rom-coms, which I think we did, is like, I think that we glorified the feeling of limerence without really knowing, having a word for it. That sort of like feeling of like being so infatuated was sort of what we kind of saw on screen, and then it would always like work out in the end. And it's like, okay.
Or I started thinking of like Helga from Hey Arnold.
Oh my God. Fully.
Which, I mean, she was painted as extreme in her obsession, but I think they maybe kissed once. Am I making that up? Did they kiss in the show?
I cannot recall, but if they did, it was one episode where the rest of the episodes in the series, his feelings were unrequited.
Yeah. No. It was not. They never they were never a couple.
Totally.
But that, or like, I feel like Lizzie McGuire always had like a big crush. It was just very common to have these like girls with like really big secret crushes, and then oftentimes it would work out. Maybe I normalized that, and then not until more recently you start to notice like the physical toll some of this stuff takes on you, and it's a little bit like, this doesn't feel healthy, actually.
Totally. I think that's a huge piece of it, is like there are crushes. I mean, I think we glorify crushes. I think that's one thing. Limerence, I think, is a step further, like a debilitating crush. Like unable to think about anything else, kind of. And I think that's like a huge piece of it, is it is not a healthy place to be. It can feel really amazing. And then I also was listening to this podcast that put it into stages. That was really helpful, where I think the beginning stages can feel like very much like falling in love or feeling like a crush, but those stages lead into each other, where it does lead into, this is very much like you need to break this cycle somehow. Otherwise, you're not going to be okay.
Yeah. It probably also plays into, I would assume, like anxious attachment styles and avoidant attachment styles.
Yes. And doctors are very hesitant to link anything, but I think there is a huge ADHD link and insecure attachment style link. And I'll say my experience started as a very like secure attachment with a person. And then when things started like getting a little bit more distant, that's when the anxious attachment and anxious avoidant kicked in. Yeah. And then the limerence started, and then it all triggered back to like all of the times where I realized, oh my God, this is from this relationship, this is from this relationship, this is from this one. Yeah, it felt, and then I went down an anxious attachment rabbit hole.
Is it only for like romance, or can it be for friends?
It can be,
I
think
platonic
it can,
also.
Usually there's some sort of romantic experience, but I think it doesn't necessarily need to be sexual. It can also be just an intense infatuation with somebody that, like people get it for celebrities, and I think very much can be like a platonic thing as well. Usually it's somebody who you're not getting like consistent communication with though. So like if it is a friend, I mean, tell me if you have any other thoughts on this, but my thought is it's either a new friend or somebody who is not completely giving you that steady sort of consistent communication that you might get with like a better friend.
Yeah, I guess it's weird for me with friends. I don't get that anxious around any of my friends for some reason. I'm like very secure with, very chill. But anything romantic, I'm not chill at all. I get very, I get very worked up over really.
And is it
quickly.
every romantic?
If I can like casually date someone and that's fine. Yeah. I think it's once I like somebody, then that's where it gets. Yes.
You know, that's so funny because I feel like, so I'm currently in like the healthiest relationship I've ever been in. We've been together for 11 years, so whatever. But that started, I would say, as all my, like when I have crushes or whatever, like very much like all consuming. I think, I don't know that I would call it limerence, but it was that experience of like being fully consumed by communication with this person. And the way we started was a little like, chaotic and dramatic and stuff. And then it got to a place pretty quickly that was like very steady and secure and everything. So I think like sometimes I think things can end up being like very like secure and whatever. But I would agree that like once I like someone, it's going to be kind of a lot.
But it's good to know too, for you at least, that like when things do get more secure, you're still interested, because I think some people, the highs and lows. Oh, you chase it. It's like addictive. A drug. Yeah.
And I think for me, I used to think that for relationships, like once that went away, once there was like that steadiness, I didn't feel that like spark in the like jolt in the butterflies like I did, and I thought that was falling out of love. And then I came to understand that was what I was experiencing before was not in fact love. Building love is the most beautiful thing on earth, and ultimately it gets to a place of calm, which limerence so is not. Very opposite of limerence. And limerence, again, like there's that uncertainty of reciprocation. Once you get that constant like thumbs up of like, hey, we're in this together, it's like, oh, those feelings of like that dopamine hit becomes a little less, but those lows become also so much less frequent. Yeah. Which is why they tell you like one of the ways to get out of limerence is to just straight up ask somebody, do you see a future? Which is what I ended up having to do with this person recently. But
and how did it go?
Like you might expect. It was also a weird experience where, long story short, my partner and I are open and I'm exploring with women. Okay, so this is a woman that I fell head over heels with, and it was reciprocal. And then, but she wanted a primary partner, which I couldn't provide. Okay, and then we continued talking, and I was like, "We're still in it, baby. Let's go. Let's do this."
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah. And she was like, "No, I want to be friends." I go, "Yeah, that's fine." And then I thought I could be fine, and then I had to go no contact. Yeah. Which is, I think, the only way.
No, I think so too. I'm the same way. Well, not that much recently anymore, but I was seeing someone for a while it was like, we're just friends. Because for so long, I always kind of had this idea that like, I can't be open with and vulnerable with someone unless they're my soulmate and they're committed to me. Yep. I would wait until that point. But then like, we'd be like, okay, we're boyfriend, girlfriend. And then like, it'd fall apart immediately. Because I really rushed to get to that stage of commitment, you know? So I was like, you know what? I trust this person. I'm just gonna be vulnerable, and it's okay that it's not in this like situation. But which I very much realized was a lot of me working out stuff on my own. Meanwhile, this guy's like, do.
Totally. They have the on, and I'm like,
do. And I'm like, I'm spiraling. I'm absolutely taking drugs. I'm like talking to all the emergency therapies, like all this stuff. And but then for a minute at the end, it genuinely, and I stopped I kind of like threw my hands in the air, and I kind of just like gave up. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, I kind of got like everything I wanted. Like it was like, oh, okay. Well, now this actually does feel like a relationship. Totally. And I lost some of that anxiety I had and some of all of that stuff, and it was really nice. But then about 4 months later, I, had to ask that same question, and I got the same jolt response of like, no, I'm not, I don't do anything like that. Mm-hmm. So then I was like, well, what are you doing?
Yep.
And it's like, oh no, I still want to do everything that we've been doing, and I really like and care about you, but never would see anything romantic ever. And I was like,
what?
Yeah, it's crazy.
That is, first off, all of those things make total sense, and validating all of those feelings, because that feels so wild. It just feels like somebody who can't commit.
100%. But then it's like, but then I get in my head because I'm like, was this all limerence? Or like, I'm like, you know what I mean? I was like, no. There's no way I was out there all alone with my big old feelings.
No, you weren't. And also, I don't think limerence is a necessarily bad thing. I also went through the same thing. I'm like, was this all in my head? Where like, limerence, it's also not black and white, where I think like, no, there was certainly a lot of reinforcement from this person, it sounds like. And this was a relationship. It was not in your head. And limerence is it's different from like, we want different things.
Right.
And now it's out in the open.
I think during the moments though where it is earlier and more uncertain, and then my brain fills in a lot of the blanks.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I build up a lot of, it's harder to have more discernment because you do just really like, you just like this person a lot. It's hard to see their flaws. Mm-hmm. Over time, I tried to be like, well, maybe if I just spend more time with him, I'll like him less because I'll know more about him.
I think, by the way, I think that is like literally true.
But then like the opposite happened.
Yeah. Can I ask though, like when your brain is filling in those gaps early on, are you having any conversations about like checking in, like what their feelings are?
Yeah, early on, like very early on, I was like, what are you looking for? Because I'm looking for something more serious. And he said he was looking for something more casual. And then I ended it then.
Oh, you did? Yeah, see?
But then, this is the annoying part, and I'm not on Twitter anymore, but at the time we were both big Twitter people. Oh. And, he'd like all my stuff. One time I posted a selfie and the caption was like, anyone looking for a girlfriend? And he liked it.
Get out of here.
I know, my friend was like, that's evil. Like I had, ended the seeing each other, but I was still getting intermittent.
Yep.
Every once in a while, like a little hit, and you're like, well, maybe. And then I was like,
absolutely.
And then you kind of talked myself into, well, maybe it's just like, maybe I can just have fun.
I think that's so common too. Like, oh, I think I can be chill. I think I can make this work. I think this can be totally great. And by the way, I don't think that's wrong either. You can give that a go and see what that's like, even if it might be your brain being like, I'm good. I could do this.
But there are just a lot of moments where it's like, there are things I should have said and I didn't want to because I was afraid of the answer.
1,000%. Totally.
Yeah. And that's now my new thing is to just say things more sooner.
It's the thing I took away. I mean, with my person, we had so many conversations early on and consistent talking and knowing where each other were at. And as soon as like, this was a long distance thing too. As soon as we were apart, those conversations stopped and I never initiated because I was both convinced myself that I didn't deserve to because we were nothing, why. And then also I was afraid of the answer. And the more I postponed that, the more my brain filled in those gaps.
Yeah.
And it gets harder and harder the longer it goes on.
I don't know if there's like a cure for limerence either. I think I've just
I don't know that there is either, but single podcast episode that seriously summed stuff up so freaking well. Like the amount of videos and the amount of things I watched and consumed, this one like covered everything and so concisely. And this was a podcast called Psychology of Your 20s and specifically an episode on limerence. So I'm going to shout out that podcast. But the from everything that I consumed, the way to move on is no contact and also replace any behaviors, even the thoughts, the fantasizing, all of that with something else. Calling a friend, maybe it's like drawing, maybe find something healthy to replace those behaviors. And I think the hardest one is probably the ones that live inside the old brain. Figure out how to devalue this person, focus on their flaws, lean into the negative feelings that come up.
That one was really helpful with a different relationship I had that had more of like the extreme highs and extreme lows, and focusing on the lows. Anytime I would get sentimental about the highs, I would think of the lows and then be like,
so smart.
Like that's not how I want to feel.
Yeah.
You should never have to feel that way, even at the expense of a high. Like it's not worth it. So focusing on that helped me a lot.
Totally. And also like remembering that, you are worth like the full picture. Somebody who's going to reciprocate all of those things all the time, not just at one point, but all the time.
And at the end of the day, I do get over it eventually. Like time has to pass. And then you're like, why was I projecting onto like a loser? It's like always how it is. Like truly, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Oh my God. Okay, well, thank you for sharing Limerence. I do. I love this topic so much. We will talk about Blue Apron now.
Obsessed. I just can't wait. I've done HelloFresh and I don't know, some other one. So I can't wait to hear everything you have to say.
Well, it feels really 2005 of me, right?
Totally.
Because I only did these when they first launched and you got like really good deals on the boxes, and then I stopped.
They're always giving you those great deals up top, and then they loop you in.
And so I just started getting them again because, and I realized it's more of like an ADHD tool, I think.
Getting the boxes which part of it?
All of it.
Yeah.
Because it's, I've realized that cooking is very good for me.
Yes. Have realized the same thing.
And like lately it's like a mix of being too busy and I live alone. So like cooking for one and buying groceries and it's expensive. And then I was throwing food away. So then I just started buying frozen food all the time. So I was just eating frozen Trader Joe's
100%.
for months. And so I'm like, okay, let me try. I did start HelloFresh first. Okay. Because like years ago I had a friend who was like a teacher and she always would order like HelloFresh and be like, I'm making fish tacos tonight. And I always like in my head was like, psh, like I just thought it was for like things for people who can't cook. And I was like, well, I know how to cook. Like that's so lame of you. Totally. And now I'm like, no, it's just really helpful.
Oh my God. And the decision making of it all too. It's like, oh, I guess I can either have fish tacos tonight or I can make the other thing enchiladas or whatever. But the taking away of the decision making, it can be so paralyzing as a chef.
Yes. It also forces me to eat what's in my fridge because I also I get bored of what I eat quickly. So if I eat too much of something and it's still there, I'll order delivery and then let that go bad. Totally. And it just...
Are you somebody who can... Because I find that I think this might also be an ADHD thing is liking something for 3 nights in a row. The exact same meal and then being like, I could never eat that again. Yeah.
Maybe 2, maybe 3, depending on what it is. And then I can't touch it for months.
Yep, totally.
For months. And then it sits, or I freeze chili for a year because I don't want chili for a year.
I have so many soups in my freezer. They're taking up the whole thing.
And especially again, it's just me. So I don't want to cut recipes in half. Or you can't buy a tiny thing of sour cream. You just can't do it. And it's so I was like, fine, I'm just gonna pay for HelloFresh. And that was great until I realized they started using generative AI to make their recipe cards and stuff. I know. Recipe cards, it's all AI pictures, and they pumped out, now it's hundreds of recipes. So it's really overwhelming to pick what I wanted to eat. So in a really dramatic way, I canceled my membership and told them exactly why, and now I'm on Blue Apron.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
That feels like a huge Limerence break off.
But I did genuinely find the overwhelming options of recipes really stressful.
Yes.
And so in Blue Apron, they don't give you that many options. And what I love is they have a section of recipes that it's all just a little tin, and you basically throw all the ingredients in it and stick it in the oven for 30 minutes. So that's my quick meal.
Cool.
It's great. You do a chicken rice thing. I love a one pot situation.
Yes, same.
Same. I always get one of those for a night that I'm really busy, and then maybe one more kind of elaborate whatever, and maybe a third one, and then I find myself really looking forward to it too. But I've been eyeing this chicken parm, and so I'm gonna make it Saturday for Valentine's Day. I've decided because that's I was like, I'm going to spend, because it's an hour, you know, they tell you the time, how long it's going to take. So I was like, this is going to be like a thing.
Heaven.
Yeah. I was like, wow, I have to like be cooking forever, I think, because it just like helps me in like every other way.
This is how I feel about making coffee too. This morning I had some leftover coffee, which often happens because I make so much. I have problems where I can drink leftover coffee and sometimes.
No, I've done it very occasionally, but well, is it iced coffee or do you heat it back up again?
I heat it back. Heat it back up again. Yeah, no, it's it's problems. But I realized that like I also had, this is another toxic trait, I had leftover smoothie from yesterday too. So all of my breakfast was sort of like ready, and I was like, wait, what do I do? Just you have this, and then what? And then what? And then, but I need my ritual. So I even though I had leftover coffee, I still made more in my Chemex because I needed the ritual of it. There's something about it that's so, it's grounding.
It also, I think, tastes better, fresher, but I just had to. We have to wrap up. Okay. But this was so fun.
So fun.
Thank you for joining me.
Oh my God, it was such a blast, such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.
Julia Schroeder is an actress and comedian and can be found on Instagram at Julia E. Schroeder. And you can see Julia on the Peacock series Screamboat. Listen to her on the podcast Two Curly Girls with ADHD. And she can also be seen doing comedy live at New York City's UCB on Mod Night.
True. No, it's true.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
As well as in-person performances at the Magnet Theater and Grove 34. You can also follow this podcast at Hyperfocus Comedy on Instagram. There's also a Patreon if you would like to support the show. That's also in the show notes. And I'm Virginia Dickens, and this has been Hyperfocus, a neurodivergent podcast.